Hello, my name is Allison Hill, and I'm a senior data scientist at IBM on the AI strategy and innovation team. Prior to that, I worked at RStudio for about 3 years, where I was product manager for data science communication there, working closely with the rmarkdown team and a professional educator. And one of the things that I did a lot when I was at RStudio was building websites using our Markdown and deploying them. I use Netlify a lot for this, especially their free tier. And one of the things that Netlify is doing for the month of December 2021, which I'm on the very last day, squeezing in a couple more videos. And enjoying a lot of time with my family over the holidays, is they're donating $500 per site to charity that you build and deploy using Netlify for this month. And I thought it was a really great opportunity to be able to show people how to be able to use our Markdown to create very useful but simple websites and be able to share them quickly using Netlify. So I got a request for this week to be able to share how to make a data package. There's not exactly a website involved, but we'll make one with pkgdown to be able to share the documentation easier. So if you're unfamiliar with my work, I'm one of the co-authors of the Palmer Penguins data package. So I'm going to share that real quick so you can see that was the first data package that I made that made it to CRAN, but I had made data packages a lot actually before that in order to teach. And I think it's a really, really helpful skill to have to be able to put data into a package. It's a really neat way to share data with our users. So here's the Palmer Penguins package down site. And this was just a set of, simple CSV files that we bundled up into an R package so that people could use them for teaching, for being able to put together tutorials, and for software documentation. And we hope that it's an alternative to the Iris data set. Which kind of has a little bit more of a historical burden on it and requires a little bit more explanation for new users and learners. So we thought, what better than some charismatic and adorable penguins, along with some wonderful art from Allison Horst in there. So my co-authors on this package were Drs. Allison Horst and Kristen Gorman. Kristen was one of the researchers actually in the field who organized the data collection for the Palmer Penguins. So that's one of my data packages. So I haven't made one in a while, but I'm going to give it a go. And I'm going to use my own instructions that I co-wrote with my previous RStudio summer intern, Desiree De Leon. And this was sort of sadly from a project that didn't end up getting all the way off the ground. But in the time that Desiree was my intern, we worked on this book that we were thinking of as documenting some of the cool things that you can do with R and RStudio for education. So that's why it's called RStudio for EDU. And this was creating a data package. So predictably, I'm going to follow my own, our own tutorial here and see how far I get. So let's see what we tell people to do. Is this tutorial for you? You have a GitHub account. Hopefully you do by now. You're comfortable with the basics of using R and RStudio, and you understand how our projects work. And you understand the difference between a regular R script and our Markdown document. So hopefully you have all of those by now. And we are going to be making a package that learners or other users can download and install from GitHub. I'm not going to be submitting to CRAN today live, but you'll be able to download it and install it from GitHub. Okay. So mental framework. Oh, I really like this. So to create a package with data that's ready for people to use, we're going to make 4 new folders that will contain first our raw data files, any scripts that we need to clean up the data, comment documentation of our data, and clean up documentation of our data. And we'll finally pull it all together when we build all of these things into our package. So here's a great illustration by Desiree to kind of walk us through that. So these are really the 4 main folders that we're going to play with today. So data-raw, this is not something that's actually formally used by your R package, but it's a place for you to put the intermediate scripts that you need to process the data and clean it. And it's a place to save it all in the same repository as the actual data package itself. We're going to be exporting that data into the actual data folder. Now that's the one that R is actually going to be reading. So those are going to be actual .rda files. So that's the format of our data files that we're going to be creating. Data raw is usually a place where you'll store the CSV or the JSON or whatever kind of original raw data that you had. So that's why we have this illustration here of like, this is like in a sushi restaurant, basically like going from left to right. This is like the actual place where the fish is all cut up. Data is maybe the sushi rolls itself, like you're kind of rolling it up into a way that's digestible and more more appetizing for humans to see. And then in the R folder, that's where we're going to be storing our documentation. So kind of our menu, like what's inside of your sushi roll. And then in the man folder, that's where our official rendered documentation is going to live. We're not actually going to write anything in the man folder. We're going to be using the R folder and kind of generating man automatically from that. But these are the main folders that we're going to be going through. So let's go ahead and install these packages. See what's going on in my RStudio setup here. Should have all of these, but I'm going to install them to be safe. And it looks like 2 getting started workflows. I think these are kind of workflows that I am familiar with. So I'm going to go forth and create a new repository. Now, one thing that's important when you're creating a data package is there's very specific rules around how R packages in general can be named. So instead of creating like a numbered repository like I've been doing for this, I'm going to, I was going to use the Spice Girls data from Tidy Tuesday. So we'll call it data. Add a README and create the repository. I'm going to copy the HTTPS link, go back over to RStudio, file, new project, version control, get, paste, and go. Okay, so now all we have is a place to put things. That's all we've got so far. Let's see. Oh, create package. Okay, so I think I'm not supposed to use this Git working directory. I think someone scolded me about that at some point, and I never know exactly what the right way to do this is. So I think I'd been looking at the help for this. Yeah. Let's see. Let's use this create package. I think what they actually want, I had been using that Git working directory command for this, but then somebody told me not to. But the thing that always confuses me is when I go to path here, it says a path. If it exists, it is used. And I just kind of want it like here in this folder. So if it does not exist, it is created provided that the parent path exists. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm going to attempt to figure out what the path is for the package that I'm in. So let's see, did I put spiced data in here? So let's just do like a get info. And sometimes I end up flailing around with this step way too much. And I'm sure other people don't experience this. I do. All right, so users and then spiced data. Let's see if that works. Okay, let's see if it did what I wanted it to, because I wanted it to plop everything inside this folder. Okay, so that worked. Yay. Okay, so what I ended up doing was kind of an absolute path here. Setting the active project to the one I'm in, great. Creating our folder, writing the description, and it tells you, here's kind of a copy paste. It says overwrite pre-existing file, spice data, our project. You wanna do this, so yes. Okay, it's gonna restart and open. Voila, okay. Yes, overwrite pre-existing file. Yes, okay, do that. This session has a build tab in the pane, which also has the tabs environment, history, etc. This tab is specific for building packages, and we'll use it later. You can close the other RStudio instance. I think I'm good. Oh, uh-oh. Okay, I'm going to close this old instance and then work from this one. See, it's a good thing I have my own instructions here. Desiree wrote really, really good instructions here. It's a good idea to commit to GitHub at this point. So shall we? Let's do it. Okay. I'm gonna select all, commit, and push. Great. Okay, let's head back to Desiree's instructions. Okay, that's a different getting started workflow. Okay, so part 2, add some clean data with built-in data. So this was one of our examples because we thought sometimes people just want to be able to kind of use an existing data set in a package already, or from a built-in data set in R, and maybe just kind of edit it a little bit. So we use the example of Anscombe's quartet here if you just wanted to maybe make a quick little change to it. So let's go ahead and create that data-raw folder. And that is, again, not something that R necessarily knows about, but it's a good practice thing that usethis does have functions for. So we're going to do that using usethis. Okay, so you can see that it added this data-raw folder here. And then now this says dataset.r. It created this script inside there. So there's only a single file inside that folder, and it's code used to prepare the data set. And then it tells you, helpfully, the last line of that R file should be this code that's on line 3 there. Use this, using the use this package, use underscore data, and then tell it to write the data set, and then overwrite equals true. So this is kind of where we're going to be putting in like code to actually do the stuff. So you can see that these are our notes to ourselves. The data raw folder is like the pantry of our sushi restaurant. Not entirely sure that analogy totally worked out, but we can put anything we want in here and it won't directly impact our final package at all. This is more for ourselves to keep up all of the intermediate files that go along with making a data package. So now I think it now adds you could add your cleanup script to dataset.r. Okay. So we need the fish, we need the raw fish. So I'm going to use and install the Tidy Tuesday R package, and I'm just going to kind of like pull in the Spice Girls data. And then I'm going to export that to a CSV, put it in here, and then be able to show you kind of the whole workflow. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to do library tidy Tuesday R. I think I also need, and here it doesn't matter what kind of packages you load in this part, because again, this is not actually used in the R package itself. And even if you do submit to CRAN, again, doesn't matter. Like you can use tidyverse here or dplyr or whichever, anything that you want here is fair game. It doesn't actually become a dependency of the package. So I'm going to do dplyr because I think that's all I'm going to need. I may not even need that. Ooh, looky here. I think it's all like super tidy. Okay. Let's see. We don't even need that. Okay. So I'm going to save this. And I think technically, let's see, modify dataset.r, finish the data preparation script in data raw dataset.r, and then use this use data. Okay. So let's try. I'm just going to copy and paste this down here real quick. I don't want to run the whole. Let's see what happens. Downloading file 1 of 3. Oh, okay. So it automatically downloads all of them. What a nice printout. This is a very nice package. Okay. So we've got studio album tracks, and I'm going to just like take that. You could export it to CSV actually, and then kind of go through all that, but I'm not going to do that here. And again, whenever I build my package, whenever I have people use this package, they're never going to be running this actual script. This is housekeeping. This is a place to put things and save them. So I'm going to just leave it like this and show you what happens. Let's go to spiced data. It should create. So what we don't see here now is a data folder. I'm about to run this in completeness. So before I was just kind of trying to see what this printout was here. And I think this is a nice little data set, 31 observations, 25 variables. So this, you could have exported it as a CSV, put it in the data raw folder, and then read it in and done exactly the same line 8 and gotten the same product. So this is not in any way dependent on the fact that I'm using a package here to get the data. You can have whatever code you want here above, and as long as you use this use data step at the end. So I'm going to actually source this whole thing now. Okay, let's just run the whole thing. Aha, so now you can see that it added this data folder, setting lazy data to true in description. That's good. That's what I want. You can read more about kind of the intricacies of that in the R Packages book by Jenny Bryan and Hadley Wickham. Let's see. So saving studio album tracks to data studioalbumtracks.rda, and then document your data. And then it has a nice little resource for us to be able to find that. And actually, I think in the RStudio IDE now, if you hit command or maybe option click, there was a way to like immediately go to that link. Oh, well, you can copy and paste it. So anytime I run this script now, it will replace that file, that RDA file. So overwrite true, that's what that means. So let's go into data. You can see I've got a nice little RDA file there. And that's really kind of like the meat of getting the data into the package. So we have the studio album tracks in there. Let's see. Okay, we can actually install the package locally, and then we should be able to see it. Okay, so I'm going to close out. We're done with the raw stuff. And if you go over to build, let's see, what did I say? Build pane, click more, load all. Okay. So let's see. So it's loading the Spice data package. So let's see if Studio album tracks is there. How fantastic. All right. If this worked, you should be able to call your clean data successfully. Perfect. Okay, so now we've managed to go from raw fish to the sushi roll. So I'm going to skip this part, but this is basically an extension of that. You can do something like that as well. I'll put this link in the bottom of this video. So part 3, check. So now we're going to want to run DevTools check document false, or let's just use the build pane. Build pane, check package. There shouldn't be much to check because there's not much to this package. Oh, 2 warnings. Okay. Undocumented. Indeed. Okay, let's see if this spits out a lot of output, including some warnings, but don't feel overwhelmed. This is okay and only happening because we have not documented anything in our package yet. Our sushi is made, but the menu is not. Okay, if we wanted to, we could still use this package despite the warnings and commit to GitHub as is. So I'm going to go ahead and just commit right now. You can see all the things that use this automatically updated for me. So for example, description changed when I used the use_data function, and data raw, when I used that, it was added to the rbuild ignore. So that means that whenever this package is actually built, it's going to ignore the data-raw folder. So that's why I said, whatever packages you want to use in that script for processing the data, anything like that is fair game. You can use whatever you want because it's going to be totally ignored at build time. Okay. Add data to package. Okay. Part 4, document the data sets. Okay, so in the console, use this use R, and that will help us generate the documentation. So use this, but it's not shrimp, it's Studio album tracks. Okay. Okay, it says modify that, call use_test to create a matching test file. Okay, I'm not going to go that far because it's just a data set. I probably should. But... Okay, so now in here, this is where it's confusing. I remember me and Desiree went through this a lot where we were like, is that really the best way to do this? I think you kind of have to do this manually. I wish there was an easier way to do this. But what we want is something that uses a specific kind of format called Roxygen comments to be able to document our data set. And what's normally typical is to have like a kind of description of the data set, or a title of the data set, a description, and then this like at format sign. And then usually what you would do is have some kind of overview of like a table with this many rows and this many variables. Now, I would think that there would be an automatic way to do this. I don't believe that there is. And when I was at our studio, I didn't know that there was. And we had discussions about this. So I'm fairly certain that I'm right about this. But I'm hoping that things have changed maybe since I've last done this. So I'm going to do it this way manually, but with the caveat that I'm hopeful that there has been an advancement on this front, because I find this completely tedious because of course R knows all about my data, right? So these are Spice Girls Studio album tracks. I believe I can still type R studio album tracks. Let's see. I believe there's 31 rows, 25 columns. I'll just do that right now. 31 rows, 25 variables. No one's going to check this, so I'm going to simplify this and just do 2 for now, just so that y'all won't see me typing for years, literally years. Artist name, artist ID. So this is what I would do manually. And I would normally note like the type of variable it is. So this is a character variable, for example, character variable. And then I just write out in words what it is, name of the artist. Sometimes, variable names are descriptive. Sometimes they need a little bit more explanation. And I'm sure that this one is got, I think there's a data dictionary associated with it. So I'd probably go back to that. Let's do like unique ID number of artist, and then source. I will put a link here. There, and then I think this is how I want it to be called. Let's see. These strange looking comments woven it, and let's go to our Roxygen. I believe there's now a package down site for Roxygen too. Let's see if this is like better documented. No, wait, that's not what I mean. Here we go. Roxygen 2. Namespace tags, RD formatting, maybe it's RD documentation tags. So these are mainly meant for people who write packages. Here's a data sets thing. Here we go. Okay, data sets are usually stored as R data files in the data folder and not as regular R objects in the package. Yes, yes, this means you need to document them slightly differently. Instead of documenting the data directly, you quote the data set's name. So you quote the data set's name. Okay, so I need to put studio album tracks here exactly, I believe. Source, this looks a little bit different than how I have it, so maybe that's better. Let's do it. I guess it accepts Markdown. But if they say it here, then it must be true. So it's hard to remember all of this stuff, but it's kind of too bad that there's not an automated way to do this based on the data set that you've loaded in, you know, especially like the variable types. You know, you'd obviously have to write in no matter what, like the descriptions, but the variable types you always seem like you want to get automatically. Note the use of 2 additional tags that are particularly useful for documenting data: at format, which gives you an overview of the structure of the data set. So I think I've done that. This should include a definition list that describes each variable. There's currently no way to generate this with Markdown. So this is one of the few places where you'll need to use RD markup directly. And then at source, where you got the data from, often a URL. Okay, so I think I'm actually doing something kosher. Go back to Tidy Tuesdays. There's some kind of description for studio album tracks. Here we go. Audio features of each song. I'll add that as this line here. Okay, cool. So I'm going to save that. And then let's go back to our instructions. Okay, modify the descriptions to match your data set. This is you drafting the menu for your sushi roll, right? So here we have, up format and at source. Great. Okay. Oh, and then we have a nice link to our packages. Oh, goodness, that URL got mangled. Let's try that. Object documentation, documenting data sets. See, documenting data. Okay, great. So this looks pretty similar to what the Roxygen documentation is. Never export a data set. That's also important. Never at export. If you're used to writing R packages and exporting functions, you don't export the data sets. Okay, so our menu is drafted, but not yet accessible by the package. In the console, let's run DevTools document to make the R Oxygen comments sort of like printing the menu, I think. So you can also do this document. Okay, documentation step is completed. Now try pulling up your documentation. So we were already able to load the package itself, but what we couldn't have done before was to type !, studio album tracks. I think I probably need to let's do load all first. Okay. Beautiful. So what you can see is that it shows up in help over here now in a way that you might be familiar with from normal documentation of packages. So the title is Spice Girls Studio Album Tracks, the description, audio features of each song from the 3 studio albums by the Spice Girls from Spotify, usage, here's the variable, here's the object name, and then a table with 31 rows and 25 variables. And then you can see some documentation that I added for 2 of the columns. You'd really want to be complete, add them all. And then the source there is a linkable URL. Perfect. So if everything looks good, then you're done documenting the data set. If not, keep editing until you're satisfied. Document again. Now repeat the steps in this section for any other data set in your package. And part 5, document the package. You can do this definitely. I'm going to skip that step. Let's see. Okay. Let's check all again. If we check the package now, it shouldn't give us a warning anymore about the fact that I have undocumented things. Please, no warnings. Darn, one warning. Oh, it looks like I've used a non-standard license specification. Let's see. Just the documentation we get. Okay. Let's see. Use Tibble. This will make it so the data sets. Well, your package will print out as clean Tibbles instead of data frames. Okay, so let's do that. And then I need to add a better license. Would you like to add this now? Oh, use Tibble requires package level documentation. So I have to do that anyways. Okay. I am going to do that. Document a return Tibble like so. Not exactly sure where to put that. It says document a return Tibble like so, at return a Tibble. Maybe in the R folder for data. Oh, no, in the R folder here. I'm actually not sure where to put that. It doesn't go there, right? At return. I'm gonna leave it. It's helpful, sort of. I'm sure it's documented somewhere. Heaven knows. Okay, this will make it so document data sets in your package will print out as clean Tibbles. I think that's what I want. Run dev tibbles document. Okay, now I still need to fix my license. So let's look in the description. And I think, let's see. Let's just use, there's a lot of advice about how to pick a license. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to use this GPL3 license. And that should update that. Okay, and then now when I run check, it should be clear. So you can see that what it did was it added both this license.md file and it updated the description file. Ah, cool. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and commit what we've got. The data set. Commit, close. I'm going to go ahead and push that. Finally, all the pieces in a package are in place. Now it's time to install it. Go to build, install, and restart to make the package official. Let's see. Oh, install and restart. It's right there. Okay. Okay, looks like it was able to be installed. To celebrate, let's print out our nice Tibble. Yay, push everything to GitHub. There shouldn't be anything new in my Git. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so let us check. Spice data, if I refresh, it should all be there. Great. And then you can use either DevTools or the remotes package to be able to download and install the package. So let's do remotes, install GitHub. It should be a presshell data. See if that works. Let's do CRAN packages only. All right, and I've successfully installed my own package from GitHub. That's awesome. Okay, so here's a really nice schematic that Desiree designed to kind of review all the data package steps we just did. So we started by use data raw. This again is not a critical step. It's more for yourself. I would definitely do it, but it's not going to be dictating, whether your package is installable or whether it works or not. So this takes a .csv or a JSON, some kind of raw data. So this is our raw fish that goes into the sushi roll, and uses dataset.r to process it. And then at the end of dataset.r, there's that last line where we use the usethis package to use the function use_data, and that's what translates the object that you've just made in the dataset.r script and makes it into a .rda file that's placed specifically in the data folder. And that's what the R package is going to want to load. And then we did that additional step of use_r to be able to document it. We added specific our Roxygen2 comments there to be able to make the help page show up. And then you have to run that additional step document. That's in DevTools. So DevTools then documents it for you. And that creates that nice help file that we're able to actually see here. And that file that you're seeing is actually something rendered in the man folder. So you can see that these are here. So let's look. It says when you even open it, it says this document is read-only, generated from another script. So don't ever edit this. This is automatically generated for you when you do that document step. So we're using the man folder, but we're not actually ever touching it. It's all generated automatically from us from all the ingredients thus far. And then we can install and restart, and that's our data package. We have created a package that is actually installable by other people. And now I'm going to go off into no man's land and try to create an actual package down site for it very quickly. Okay, so let's skip over to the package down site. And I'm going to follow that very, very perfectly because I actually think this documentation for the package down site, as it should be, is quite good. So I should have the package down package installed. I'll go ahead and run that just in case, or here I can copy to clipboard, which is nice. Okay, and then we do use this package again, use use_package down. So this kind of makes it all just super easy for us. Okay. Okay, so you can see that a few things were added. Let's see, yeah, okay. It's adding a package down underscore package down.yaml file. So this is like a configuration file for being able to kind of interact with how package down renders my package down site, which is an HTML site that is automatically built around the documentation that we just added, and helps people be able to see your site on an actual website, or see your package on an actual website and see the documentation there, even though it was already accessible in the help pane as well. So it's basically recapitulating the help pane, but in some kind of linkable way that you could share with other people with a URL instead of just the help page rendered in the RStudio IDE or in their R console of choice or our IDE of choice. Okay, so we've decided to use package down. That's really all that it takes at this point. There's a whole lot more customization that you can do, but let's just go ahead and go to the add-ins. And if you scroll down to build package down, we'll have to build our site. And with package down, you do have to build your site every time. And it does kind of go through all of this. And then one thing to remember is before you build your site, you're always going to want to redocument if you've changed any documentation too. So here you can see we've got like the basic shell of a website here. I haven't added my name as a maintainer. It automatically adds a license automatically links to the license for you, adds a citation. The reference page here gives me the single function that I've made, which is studio album tracks. But you can see that this is the help page that we were able to access in our Studio IDE when we did studio album tracks. And then you can populate this with all kinds of information, just like we did here in Polymer Penguins. So we made it, pretty long and with a lot of visuals. You don't have to do that. You can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. But this is like the barest bones package down site. There's also built-in search, which I believe works. So let's look up Studio. Let's see if I can search for that. It might have to be actually connected. It might have to be actually served on an actual website for that to work. Doesn't work. I believe once I deploy it, it should work. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go git commit and add package down. And then let me see here. In the wild, let's look and see where. So one thing that Allison, Horst, and I learned pretty quickly was we were trying to use GitHub Pages to deploy our package down site, but we were getting all kinds of merge conflicts and issues when we were both changing things to the package, when we were both editing and merging in pull requests, because every time you made any changes, you'd make changes by necessity to the documentation, and so the package down site would update. But because we were actually hosting the rendered package down site in our repository, it was creating all kinds, just a mess of HTML diffs and merge conflicts and stuff. So we ended up moving to a build plan. Now this is using GitHub Pages, but we used a GitHub action, set up a package down workflow, and made it so that it was built and deployed to a branch. And that allowed us to be able to kind of avoid all that. So if you actually go to the Palmer Penguins repo, you can see that there is a package down folder. That's where our cascading style sheet is, and our favicon and stuff, but there's no actual built website in here. So it's actually built in this GitHub action. So here's like add DOI to citation. You can see that package down was built with this change. Oh, the logs have already expired. Let's see. Studio Quilt package was one that I contributed to that is not a data package, but here's a workflow. Package down. So this is one that actually does deploy to Netlify. So I'm going to just like copy and paste this workflow. And I think there's actually a way to do it. Let's see. Action is not on here. Is there a use this function that helps me do this? Use this action. I know there's a deploy to branch. Let's see, GitHub Actions. Use GitHub action. I don't see like a list of the ones that I want. I'm certain that this is documented well somewhere. Use GitHub action. Ah, there we go. Uses package down to build your site and publishes to the GH. Okay, there we go. I don't know why that was so hard for me to find. Is that documented in use this? As package down, in package down. Oh, I'm in package down. I'm not in the use this. That's why I'm confused. Okay, so it's the use this package. So use this. Let's see, package development, active project, blah, 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 blah. Get in GitHub. There's package down. Ah, here's use package down GitHub Pages. Use GitHub Actions. Oof, okay, I'm lost, but I know this is the right way. So I'm going to do this. So let's see. So I'm going to use this, use GitHub action package down. Okay, so that should be what I like, but I think it's going to assume that I'm not using Netlify, and I do want to use Netlify. Where is my .github workflows package down YAML? Let's check it out. Okay, so this is all fine and good. Yes, so this is all deploying to a new branch. Where did the quilt package down? So this should be the same basically as what we did package down build site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that happen. I'm going to let it use, I'm not going to actually deploy to Netlify in my package down YAML. I'm going to let this happen. So what this is going to do is it's going to use a special function called package down deploy to branch, and that's going to push my built site to the gh-pages branch. So I could use GitHub Pages, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use Netlify. Let's see if this works. build site. Okay, so let's see. When I push this, famous last words, it's going to start the action. And I may take a little break from filming while that builds. Let's check it out. Okay, starting job. I am going to stop recording for a second and I will check back in when this is done because it's going to take possibly a little bit. Okay, I should be screen sharing right now. Let's see, I'm going to stop it and restart that actually, because sometimes that doesn't work well. Okay, so success, my GitHub action worked, and not on the first try. Of course, somebody else wrote it for me, but that's great. That's why it's there. It did take a little bit to run. It looks like 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Total, you can look at any of these steps as it was going and see how it went. But it is successful. So I want to show what's different here. So if you now click down under main, you can see that I now have a new branch that wasn't there before. It's the gh-pages branch. And this has like an automatic commit where it's showing you when it was built, basically 1 minute ago, all of this was built and my site is there. So if I wanted to use GitHub Pages, you could activate it right now using the gh-pages branch, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do Netlify. And there's Ryan Gosling. I'm kidding. His name is Pan McMillan. Okay, add new site, import an existing project. Now this is going to be a little bit different. We're going to do GitHub. Spiced. It's so fresh, I can't even find it. Okay, Spice data. So not the branch to deploy, main. We actually want to deploy the gh-pages branch, okay? And then there's no build, there's no publish directory. It should all be just flat out in there. There's no publish directory, yes. So deploy site. Okay, determined Albertini. So this shouldn't take too long since there's no build. It's just basically processing plain old HTML files. Great, site is live. Let's check it out. Perfect. And there is our Spice Data website. And we also have an installable package. There's a lot more that you can do with a package down site, but this was the absolute bare minimum. I think if I search for, oh no, search still doesn't work. Okay. I wonder if I search in here. Album. Bummer. Okay. Well, that doesn't work exactly as how I would expect, but overall, this is a really nice way to get started. Obviously, if you had a really cool hex sticker, you can add that. You can look through the use this package to look at a lot of functions for helping you to build out a package even better than how I've shown you. This is like the most bare bones data package that you could possibly make. The use this package has functions like use_logo. I think you can use favicon. There's a lot more that you can do here. So this again is like just the most out of the box in a nutshell version of building a data package with a package down site deployed to Netlify that I could possibly put together for you all. But we did use GitHub Actions, so a little bonus there for that. That was a little tricky, but everything else is kind of boilerplate. Really actually fairly simple. And as somebody who's taught a lot of workshops and really focused a lot on trying to get data sets that really resonate with a specific kind of user that I'm looking to help the most. I think creating a custom data package is a really, really nice way to help engage people. So if you've got, like, for example, medical researchers or environmental scientists, developmental psychologists like myself, you can kind of think to yourself that maybe it'd be nice to have a little bit of a more custom data set that can help them kind of engage with material a little bit better, and creating a data package, even just one that's installable from GitHub, is a really great way to do that. And like Allison Horst and Kristen Gorman and I did, you can also submit it to CRAN and have it be accessible to everyone, which is awesome. So Palmer Penguins is that now, and I think it's been a really, really fun package to contribute to, and it was my first package on CRAN. So I think data packages are a really great way to start with your package development skills in R. So the last step is we're going to submit this guy to Dusty Domains, and let's actually rename it because the Spice Girls can't be determined Albatini. Just will not do. Let's do site settings. change site name. I don't know if Spice Data is, if I could type Spice Data. Oh man, I've been really lucky. I haven't had a lot of websites that where the top name that I wanted was taken. Okay, so I'm going to add this to about, and actually I think I need the HTTPS in there. Make sure that works. Yes. Okay, great. So Dusty Domains. So here you can see some of the charities that Netlify is donating to with every site deploy you're doing. Code 2040, you can read more about that. Resilient Coders, STEM Tank, and Black Girls Code. Pretty awesome charities. I'm really excited about it. And I'm going to submit entering real quick. And I'm going to finish entering my information. HTTPS. And I purchased it in 2021. All right, $500 to charity. We made a data package. We made a package down site. We built the package down site using GitHub Actions, deployed it or pushed the site to the GH Pages branch, and then deployed the GH Pages branch via Netlify and donated $500 to charity. So I hope that this gives you a head start for being able to get a little braver about using some custom data in your own work life or education life. And using Netlify along with pkgdown is a great way to be able to share and communicate about your data with other people who might want to use your same data package. So thank you for joining me.